Hello, SHL. We're back again for our 5th week now. Too long didn't listen again. I am Rich.
And I'm Akamai.
And yeah, 5th week. Pretty good. Still enjoying it. And we're in the off season now. Starting just a few days ago, New England won the Challenge Cup, which is pretty exciting for us.
We brought home the cup! Yay!
Yeah, that's pretty fun. I'm not the one that gets super excited about these kinds of things, but it was really awesome to see, and great group of people. I'm really glad we won, just for everybody in the locker room.
And I am glad to provide a foil for that because I was coming home from work as the final PvP was being played. And I got everybody's Discord notifications just as I pulled in the driveway. So I burst out of the car, ran into the house, and started calling for my mom to tell her that we won. She was like, "Wait, what's happening?" I was almost in tears. I was like, "We won the cup!" She's like, "Yay!" I don't know what that means. So it was good.
Yeah, it happened while I was at work, and it was done by the time I got home, I believe. Or maybe it was, I think it like just finished like a few minutes before I got home. But yeah, I didn't like go back and back read I spoiled it immediately, went to the end of the thread for myself. But yeah,
I was going to read it, but I got everybody's texts and updates and notifications before that, so that didn't happen. But I was still really happy. I can't imagine a more perfect victory than us. Obviously, us coming away with the cup, but coming away with the cup after 2 sweeps, and 1 series that only went to 6, and. Yeah. Which was oddly the middle series, but anyway.
If you look at Pandar's championship week, actually, it's kind of obvious why it played out the way it did in terms of us having trouble with West Kendall over anybody else. I don't know if you saw his championship week thing, but yeah, West Kendall's more a deeper team than we are, which is saying a lot. They're super deep.
Yeah.
I mean, we have depth, but our top end isn't quite as good. And they actually have a higher TPE, a higher overall TPE third line. So yeah, I think the big difference there is just Tanner, but it was a close series. But anyway, that's kind of a tangent. So I guess, do you have anything else you want to say about that, or should we start working on some questions because we got some big topics to cover, possibly?
Yeah, let's go right into it.
Okay. So let me bring them back up because, of course, I put them somewhere and I can't find them. Okay, Clardy. Clardy asks for IIHF preview/thoughts. So we can start with that. He's got another question related, but we can get that later since that first one is kind of big. So let's, I guess, do you have the index open for the international?
I do not, but I sort of I loosely know what I was going to talk about.
Okay. I was just going to kind of go over some teams that are standouts, in terms of like having strong rosters.
Yep, and I can tell you who got pulled in more generally, rookie-wise.
Okay. I mean, IIHF is a little bit tricky just because of these. The opening round is a little more predictable, I think. But it's the medal round that can be a little crazy because it's single elimination, so it's anything can happen.
So anything could happen.
Yeah, so it's a little tough to, I think, predict. But I mean, there's teams that are probably you can kind of expect to do well, or at least get into the medal round, like Canada and USA are probably 2 decent teams simply because the quantity of players they get.
Anytime you have an international play where you have English-speaking teams in an English-speaking forum, I think that a large portion of our player base comes from that. So
yeah,
I think for lack of, because I think that also boils back to, I think it kind of returns to the question of does the is how we're bringing rookies into the league working, because I don't think it's abundantly clear that to some people that when you come into the league you're creating a character. Like, I know lots of the guys put sort of their first name, their last name, like where they grew up. So like I think they sort of made themselves as a character instead of like branching out and doing something new.
I actually didn't consider that, because that was, to me, it was immediately clear that I was creating a character.
Yeah, I say we. I actually don't remember who I was having the discussion with, but there was some discussion at some point that when we were talking about doing the sort of the annual Reddit recruitment, there was talk of is it really doing all of the things we want? So I think, was it Bottas who drove it? I think so. But he really sort of codified and clarified some of the interesting things in the league, including that you're making a persona, you're making a character. And that it's not like a traditional league where you're going to draft existing players. You're going to make up brand new players, and you're going to be the one that determines how successful they are. Because I think that's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, I guess maybe not. But I think also when you get, for me anyway, my default choice was going to be USA for my country of origin, because that's where I'm from. It just made sense. It was like my default. So I think, and hockey fans too, kind of USA and Canada are like, since most of us are North American, it's kind of like the default choice. So I think that's part of the reason they get a huge number of players as well. So just by quantity, they're going to have, they're going to
be able to put together strong rosters year after year after year.
Yeah, but then you've also got teams that are, I don't know, Czechoslovakia's got a good team as well, although not a country. Finland is, I feel, a little transitional. I guess they still have Ito, but they got a lot of young players. But they also have guys like Essa, and I guess Onoprienko is kind of on his way out too.
Yeah, we have this year. I'm on Finland, so I sort of know the lineup for the most part. But we have Mario Makinen, we have Kekkonen, wannabe Finns player. We have Ruutu's player. We have so we still sort of have some SHL like household names, but then we also have a large crop of new people. We've got me with Tallow. We've got goalie-wise, this is going to be Ido's final year, and then we've got now we're sort of rich with goalies because we have Lokkonen, Jay's player, is poised to sort of take over the throne from JY. And then behind them, we've got JY's Recreate, but we've also got Kyle Wahlgren, who was one of the new rookies who made his player finish.
Yeah, you got to think he'd probably transfer though, given the situation, or somebody. I guess probably JY probably wouldn't. I wouldn't think, because just given his background with his character's or his player's history being the son.
I actually I was thinking that if any of the three of them and then Jay's probably not going anywhere either, because I'm on the team, Lil's on the team. Like, yeah, we have Nebs with McCullough Gulch with Elmari Mata. So we've got people we know there. So I think it's not an easy decision for us to like pick up and transfer. So anyway, so it's a fairly big roster, and it's we've got depth, but we've got it in odd places. We have almost zero incoming D-men, but our forwards are pretty stacked, and stacked in a weirdly, but not stacked conveniently, where it's like we have a bunch of people who are all coming in with high TP at the same time. It's very spread out.
Yeah.
So yeah, perpetual maybe bronze medalists.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rough, but I'm hoping that it goes better. I'm hoping that we like surprise some people this time, especially with it being Idaho's final run.
Yeah.
But
So let's see. Finland. Let's kind of looking at Germany. They have a pretty strong roster as well with guys like Nuck and McZ, Klitzum, Flacco now kind of reaching the point of being an elite player. Some pretty decent defense. Their weakness would be their goaltending, so they may not. It's hard to say whether or not that'll hurt them, given they do have a pretty decent roster. Let's see what else. Ireland. Actually, not familiar with the players they have. Obviously, Bojo, Sarantez, O'Reilly, Griffin Simons, Tommy Cruller. So they got some strong players, but looks like they fall off.
they don't have any depth.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of depth. They've also got Tanner. So I mean, although Tanner's kind of value there is, I would say, strictly goaltending, simply because it's hard to find. You don't have as much time to spend working your rosters.
Right.
Not enough games, really. Otherwise, as you know, having him to work the lines would definitely be an advantage. But I don't think there's enough time for that. I mean, it could be a factor, but Latvia, they're not looking great. Just kind of looking at their roster.
They consistently struggle because they don't have that many people. Like if there were a dissolution of one team, what's interesting is some of them are actually like native Latvians. Like they came in and joined because that's their home country. So I think that makes them kind of interesting. But the problem is they don't have a really strong like recruiting, I think. And I think even with like, because the way it is right now, if you only get the chance to have one rookie transfer per season, that doesn't really build you a strong roster in time to do anything about it. You have to get more depth than that too. So I think Czechoslovakia was really smart to use their transfer last year on Justice, who is one of the top rookies.
Mm-hmm.
Stealing him from Canada, who's a stacked team, but could always use more standout players. But Justice also has a big personality, so I think he has brought some more people into the locker room just on pure sway of being awesome Justice. So I think if you're going to look at, okay, who am I bringing on? I'm limited to this transfer. Who am I bringing on? You have to create a personality with a limited scope. So I think it's really tough to get any traction in making your IIHF team better unless you get some luck and pull somebody like Justice.
Yeah, it's tricky, and I don't know. It's some of the heads aren't as proactive either, so it's
right.
So it's, I don't know. It's such a different style of league, so it's weird. I don't know. Where were we at? That was Latvia. Yeah, yep. They're a kind of a different. They do have a MLF as their goalie, so I mean he's not quite ready, I don't think, but he's kind of on the verge of being a good goalie.
Yeah, so if they're really able to maximize these couple years with transfers, you can maybe see them sort of getting better. But I don't think they're going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I think the way the league is run right now, I just don't see them gaining enough traction fast enough to even when MLF is playing at a pretty elite level. I still don't think it's going to be enough. I think if anything, they're going to be in a situation kind of like Finland is in, where they're maybe contending for getting into a medal round, but not. Yeah. Not a favorite to win it.
Yeah, they've got some good players, but a lot of their players are aging. Even some of their kind of middle tier players are aging, so that's tough.
And some of them have gone inactive at this point.
Yeah. So let's see. Next, Norway. Again, I'm not super familiar with who's on each of these teams. They got some really good players actually. Cunningham, Adam Falk.
Yeah, I know from us they've got Landvik was their newbie a couple seasons ago. So she's still playing for them. And I think some of the rookies came in and played for Norway on the strength of knowing Chenny.
They got Kez too, which is good. So they got two really good young defensemen there.
And Kez is actually really good about like active recruiting for Norway too, which helps a lot, I think.
Yeah, so they look all right. Not quite as deep as maybe they need to be. They got Broadway goaltending, so they got a goalie. They're in decent shape. Let's see, Russia. Let's see. I know a few people in Russia. Boyka, Bure, Alice Smirnov, who's Ote, Andrei Barbashev, Bananov, Koroviev, Maximova, Cynthia Taylor. They got a lot of good players.
Russia also has brought in some new of the top rookies this season.
Yes, I've seen that actually. And they even have like Sebastian Strain, who was a top rookie just a few seasons ago.
Yep.
His first season in the looks like playing international now. That's a really
So I think Russia is going to be. I think if you're looking at most improved team or a team to watch, I think Russia is going to be really exciting. If not this season, then maybe like 1 or 2 from now. I think they have the potential to really dominate if they play their cards right.
Yeah, they've got good top end players and good young players. They're looking at the bottom of their roster. It's Strange, Karpatsov, Orlov, Volkova. They've even got Rudnikova, but their starting goalie is Harder, who is good.
Awesome. Yep.
Pretty good. I don't think there's much else to say about that. They should be strong. My team next, Sweden, is very good. Some of the best players in the league, good depth. Biggest weakness is goaltending, but it's not really that much of a weakness with Robert Anderson.
Yep.
And guys like Garbanzo, Christian Eriksson, Sean Leonidas, Jed Lauren, David Benson. Not amazing. Of course, I'm on the team. Skarsgård, but some of the like top tier players, and then a bit of depth. We've got a third line that's decent. So, of course, we won the gold the last 2 seasons, so should be good. And certainly not going to predict a third, just because again, single elimination. I'm not about to make that kind of statement, but we should have a really strong team.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit, either last time or offline. But Sweden is an interesting team because I think they're sort of the third hockey power on the league, but they fly under the radar because they don't attract as much as USA or Canada. Even I think of them and I think of Russia the same way, where you'll have people who come into the league who want to play for them.
I can tell you my mentality when I chose Sweden for my team was originally I came in looking to I was going to be an American player because I'm American, and that's kind of just my thought process. Like, I'll make my player American because I can relate to that. But then I saw the population numbers for America and Sweden were America and Canada were both extremely high. So I started looking at, okay, where's a place where I'm likely to play in the international team, but isn't going to be like a tiny country. And Sweden was like, I don't remember where exactly it ranked, but it was like USA and Canada, obviously number 1 and 2. I don't remember which one's first, but like Russia and Sweden were like the next 2, I think.
Yeah, that was how it was when I came in.
Yeah, at the time, Sweden had like 60 people on the roster, I think, or like total, not on the roster, but I mean 60 people total that had Sweden as their country of origin.
Nationality. Yep.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that seems reasonable. I won't be like called up to play like immediately as a rookie, just because we're lacking players, but at the same time we probably have enough good players where it's going to be a decent team. And I think that's probably kind of why they have the team they have. Although at this point we don't have a whole lot of young players coming in, I don't think. So we're kind of in a spot where we might struggle in a little bit. We've still got some really good players that are going to be around for a few more seasons. Like obviously Garbanzo's not going anywhere for a while. But yeah, I don't really know of any rookies that we've got coming in. So
yeah, that would definitely be a place where if you could poach some from one of the larger squads, that would definitely be an opportunity for them to play better and for them to
Yeah.
for them to get playing time earlier, and for the team to really use them well.
Yeah, I just don't know how active our because we're in a position where we don't necessarily need people now. So I don't know how actively or how active our heads are in recruiting. Because there's
I think
very little playing time for people right now.
yeah. See, I think for IIHF, it's something that you have to stay on top of because um, A, transfers can happen, and B, you still want to be able to know you can backfill quickly if you'd like to maintain sort of the top dog spot.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, I guess let's start finishing off the rest. We got about 2 more teams. Yeah. United Kingdom. It's kind of an odd one. Their roster is actually pretty decent. They got guys like Nicholas Peterson and Randy Randleman for extremely good players. Clayton, who's now become a top-tier-ish defenseman. Durden, Sherrill. So, I mean, they got some decent guys.
Yep.
Their biggest weakness is going to be... Actually, McFadden's not bad. I didn't realize he's better than I thought he was. Michael McFadden is their goalie.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than I thought he was. I thought he was still a little ways out from being... he's not, obviously not top tier, but yeah, his overall is higher than his, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, they shouldn't. I wouldn't really expect them to be like, I wouldn't predict them for gold, but they look all right.
Yeah, they should be fine.
USA, and this is like kind of the. Yeah, they have a lot of really good players. Their depth is pretty good. It's they got like high end players, so like Stinson, Sterling Knight, Nathan Russell, Chuck Goody, Jack Burton, Alex Mack, Jeffrey Allen, Luke Fleming, like really good top tier players. There's a fall off a little bit after that with guys like Jester, Reed, and Crutch, but Crutch and Jester not so much. Crutch is coming up, so he will be improving. They got Buckner too. I didn't know that. I didn't know Buckner was American.
Yep.
And of course, Storm is their goalie, so pretty decent. That's probably their biggest weakness, I guess, would be Storm. I mean, he's not a bad goalie, but I guess he's not. He's kind of like a upper tier.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's actually SHL mirrors real life. You got the North America turning out tons and tons and tons of great players, and then every goalie's Finnish. Who knows why? Got that Finnish goaltending legacy at this point.
Yeah, they have Waters, the rookie. So I mean, they got that going for him.
So if he sticks with it, he could come up. And I think he fits I think from what I've heard, I've not interacted with him personally, but from what I've heard of the rookies, he seems to fit this sort of USA like culture.
That's fun. Yeah, and he doesn't need to be playing immediately either, because Storm is far from being a bad goalie.
Right. So I think he'll be happy there, playing as a backup for now, and then earning his spot eventually.
Yeah, so they're in a pretty good spot. Their roster, they have so many players, it's hard to tell how many rookies they have because they don't have any room for them. So I don't know what position they're in for the future, but for right now, they're strong, obviously.
Yep.
So yeah, do you want to make some like maybe predictions, or at least like give your top few teams? I don't know. I wouldn't say predict gold and silver.
No, I think it's kind of tough to say just because it's not, I think the way it's done, I think like who ends up winning is not immediately obvious.
No. So I would just say like.
So I think we kind of covered as we were going. I think we kind of covered which teams we think are strong and which teams we think don't really have a great shot.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I didn't really give strong opinions on any team in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, what's Canada's goalie situation? Schmidt. It's not terrible, but not ideal.
Could be better. Could be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't feel super strongly. I actually I have more thoughts about who is going to do better, like future, because just looking at who they're drawing from the rookie pool. The I did an article at one point when Kez was still giving out the bonuses for mentioning new rookies in articles.
Oh, right.
I did my article Finland centric because that's where I play. But in doing the research for the article, I ended up going through every single rookie. All what was it, 87 or something? Update pages to like find out who was what nation. I didn't end up tallying them up, and I think that I probably should have because it would have been interesting to have it as I went along. But um, USA and Canada, of course, had new people coming in. They always do.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the next three strongest in terms of pulling new people were Russia, um, Germany, and Finland. Germany has some sleeper rookies who I think are going to come up and be really good. And if McZ has his way, they'll play for Manhattan. um, but yeah, so I think those are the three. I think Russia, Finland, and Germany are the teams to keep your eye on moving forward because I think they have the potential to be in that sweet spot of they're not US and Canada where they're getting sort of poached from the bottom. So you're left with a bunch of very good middle update players. Um, Sort of they're not your superstars of the site, but they're all like contenders in their own right. But then you're also not um, so you're not large enough to get poached from, but you're not small enough where you're gonna have material holes as long as people keep coming in, filling in, etc.
Hmm.
Um, so I think as far as IIHF goes, I think that's the only like I actually don't know who is gonna look good for this season. I'd actually like I think my forecast for like 3 seasons from now is more likely, but I don't really have any strong feelings about who's going to do well this season. I think everyone's kind of in a holding pattern.
Yeah, it's so tough, and like I said earlier, it's you don't have enough time to get your lines together. Really, I mean, you can kind of go with what worked in past seasons, but I don't know. It's really tough to predict. I mean, I would just look at who has the strongest rosters and hope their heads are at least um, paying attention and submitting lines, and go from there. I don't know. It's tough. Do you want to? Oh, we've got his second question, which is IIHF related as well, which we can talk about if you want to do that, or do you think
We can address it now. I think makes sense.
Okay, let me bring it back up so I can word it properly. Did I close it? I did not. Okay, good. If you had to run the IIHF, what would you change / fix? What's with the slashes, Clardy? Come on. For me, I don't know. I guess we talked about this a little bit off air as well, but my situation was a little bit weird, and so it's a little bit selfish what I would like to change. But when I chose Sweden as my country initially with my player. I knew they had a good roster, and so I didn't necessarily expect I'd go to them right away. And I wasn't like married to the idea of being Swedish. It was just kind of it was more of a choice that I thought was a practical choice, being on a good team that I wouldn't have to go up to right away. But yeah, still having a good team. So I didn't get I wasn't on the roster right away, obviously, because they have a good team, and I was new. But when I did finally get brought up to the team, I was kind of put on the roster and given minutes or playing time without any word or without any mention or without any notification whatsoever. They just started playing me, and that, from what I understand, locks you into your country. And I did have one offer for transfer, which I was considering, not immediately, but because I didn't feel like my player was in a position to be an impact player at that level, so I didn't really want to play international at that point. But there I was on Sweden and playing, so I guess I'm Swedish now.
There you go.
It's a big deal. It's just slightly annoying. The other side of that was I didn't even know there were international locker rooms until a season later. So like, I don't remember who I was talking to, but they were talking about their international locker room, and I was like, there are international locker rooms? Like I didn't know that at all. So it was just like, I feel like a PM would have been nice. Is all. So the thing that we were talking about beforehand, and maybe the thing that I might propose would be that before you're on a roster, you have to agree to play for that team. Maybe, I don't know, something. I just would have appreciated a PM saying, "Hey, is it cool if we put you on the roster?" Or even just, "Hey, we're putting you on the roster." Anything would have been better than nothing. It's not a huge deal. It was just I was kind of annoyed in this situation. I was like, I mean, I could have transferred, and I don't know. It was just annoying. No big deal, but. So I'd like to see something maybe to keep you from getting kind of just put on a team, since it locks you in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you? I don't remember if you had something.
Yeah, I actually I have several things I could talk about, but I think jumping off of your point, I'd actually like to see some of the lock-in rules get addressed, and I think particularly for some rookies, especially the ones who come into larger nations and maybe don't realize that they won't really get playing time unless they're sort of turn out to be superstars. But if they do play, it locks them in. I would like to see some more. I don't know. I guess I'd like to see some more efforts towards really. I don't know. I feel like it's not a good situation for rookies coming in. It's not that we have one little blurb in the when you create your player about remember that your birthplace will determine what team you play for internationally. But there's not, other than that one little blurb, there's not really much guidance for rookies in terms of, okay, when you create your player, here's some teams who you could look towards as sort of here's where you're going to be more likely to be placed. So I don't know. I don't feel like rookies are, like, the way it's working now, I don't feel like rookies are tremendously clear on how IIHF works, what happens when you get drawn in, how do transfers work if you want to change your teams. The fact that you can transfer, for one thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a part of the site that it's not very well laid out and it's not very clear. And then this is the one thing that's very easy to point a finger at and not actually do, but oh my god, the differing lengths of the international banners from the regular locker room banners drives me crazy. Oh my god, I hate looking at it, and it just sticks out that extra bit from my other perfectly neat gray background with the logo. Oh my god, I don't know who made those, like the regular gray buttons, but if they could like fix that for the international, that would be my one thing. I think even more than changing the lock-in rules, I don't really care about the lock-in rules. I really care that this banner's the wrong size. That's my one thing. So I guess that's your answer, Clardy. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry if you thought I was going to go on a more intelligent rant, but that's my one thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that because I'm so used to ignoring it. But yeah, no, it is really annoying. So I guess that covers Clardy's questions. Yeah, good enough. Do we want to do the other questions? I guess, yeah. I guess that's the next.
Yeah, let's move on.
Sorry, I'm slightly distracted for 1 second here. I wanted to check because we got more games simmed in IIHF. I was just looking at. Oh my God, Sweden got dumped on. It's not good.
Oh.
Russia's got they're 3-0-1. And UK is 3-0-1 as well.
UK has had a couple really good seasons. I don't know if that's because they haven't had material changes to their lines? Or I know Eggy goes really hard on recruiting people. I don't know how successful he's been, but
yeah. Oh my god, yeah, it's not good. Although no, I'm not looking good for me. Sorry, I need to. Oh yeah, my face-off percentage is nice and high though because playing a second line. Excellent.
hooray.
Okay, anyway, yeah, let's move on to some questions. We don't need to dive into that. So that was Clardy. We got Raven with some questions next. I guess we didn't really discuss if we wanted to bounce around with these, but I'll just go in order. So a review of the cup run. So I don't know exactly what, because that could mean we could do that in a lot of depth, or we could do it briefly. I guess just briefly. Let me look at how we're doing for time here. Yeah, we're fine. So we can go as deep or as brief as we want, really. But so let's just start at the beginning. And by the beginning, I of course mean the end of the season, where we were outside of the playoffs. And we finally figured out what we were doing with our lines, with Tanner's help, obviously, as the people on the board have pointed out. And not that it was a secret. Jesus, people, relax.
Yeah, we squeaking past Toronto was definitely it's sort of the curse of Toronto. What would have happened if Toronto were the fourth team and won the cup? I have to imagine that some of the Toronto guys are just tearing their hair out over there. Speaking of long cup droughts.
If you listen to Harder, it's like I think they're used to it. So
that's true. That's true. Poor guys.
They have a solid roster, and they
should be better than they are.
They really should. They made me a really generous offer too, because they had my rights at the end of last season.
I remember.
And it was. I mean, it was. Obviously, I wanted to come to New England. That was no real secret. But it was tough to turn it down because they have a really good team, and adding a player like me would have given them a lot of depth to a team that's already really strong on the top end. I actually don't know how deep they are, but they do have some like really good top tier players. And of course, Harder as a goalie having a goalie that good is fantastic. So I don't know. I guess it's just their chemistry. I don't know what the deal is. Why they're not better than they are.
Lines, ice time, something.
Yeah, it's got to be something along those lines. But anyway, I kind of forgot what we were talking about now. Oh yeah,
Cup run review.
I was gonna look at. Let's see if I can find it now because I'm useless at finding things. Apparently, I was gonna try to find. Oh my god, what our record was for the last 10. I think it was like 8-1-1. I want to say, or something like that.
For going into the end of the season. It was really strong because at one point we were looking at being firmly outside, and then we came back hard.
Yeah, we were 7-3 in the last 10. That's pretty good. I thought it was a little better. I thought it was like 8 and something, but still, it's quite good. So yeah, we made a really big push at the end there and made it just in front of them. Actually, not. We were 3 points ahead of them. So I mean, a little bit on top. So yeah, that's I guess where it starts because we were really on the edge, on the outside, really most of the season, I think.
Yep.
So and then after that, of course, the matchups were Minnesota in the first round, which we talked about it that week on the podcast that Minnesota I would have said is the third best team in the league, behind Edmonton and Calgary, in the regular season. So I didn't expect us to win. Obviously, I was hoping, and if I was betting with my heart and not my head, I would pick us. But I always defer to my head over my heart. So I picked them to win. But no, we swept them. I think that's probably due to our depth, the depth that we have over them, and the goaltending advantage. Those are two really big factors.
Yeah, and I think you can see, even when you're breaking down the individual games within the sweep, most of our points got scored in the second or third half. So it's really after the, and Tanner had talked about this a little bit too, but the one thing that's still true amongst all of the old and outdated sim pages, the one thing that's still true is when you're playing with a lot of ice time, endurance is still the most important factor. even if you're a third liner, if you're getting consistent ice time, even if it's only 15% or so, you will start to degrade. Your player's performance will start to degrade with time. So having a player who has fresh legs and sort of outside opportunities when your first liners are starting to sort of pull back on how good they are with, because I believe it works in percentages. I believe it's a ratio of your endurance determines how much your overall attributes drop
Yeah, that's
over
how
the
it was
course of play.
explained to me.
So I think so I would credit it a lot to, and Tanner was talking about this when we were making line adjustments and stuff. I give a lot of credit to our leadership, and when I say leadership, I mean Tanner, I mean Lillian Eggy, and I also mean PB, who when she brought us in, really helped out with where we were going with build and line information. I give a lot of credit to us getting past Minnesota on our overall endurance
Yeah,
because it's pretty good, and
I
we
think
have a lot of um, really great coaching, but we also have a lot of players who are willing to change their builds based on what the team needs. And I think that's a big factor in pulling away with a victory here.
yeah, it's and actually you can look at the games. 3 of the 4 games were won in overtime. So
Yep.
I mean, you can certainly say though those are fluky wins, but not. I don't think there's 3 out of 4, and then the fourth one, and I don't know what the difference was in the fourth game. I'm not going to really dig into it now, but yeah, 3 overtime wins. I think that kind of suggests that we kind of maybe beat them with endurance.
Yep. And then it kept the other reason I say that is because it kept going into West Kendall too.
Yep, and West Kendall's actually, I think, maybe even further reinforces that because they're a team that's actually deeper than we are. So yeah, second round of the playoffs was West Kendall, and we beat them in 6. And yeah, they are. I was talking about this. I think off air, or was I talking about this? It doesn't matter. Pandar's championship week. He actually breaks down the TPE levels that the players are at between us and West Kendall because he was kind of that was his point, is that they are technically a deeper team. I think probably the advantage we have over them, well, certainly the advantage we have over them is goaltending.
Yep.
Because yeah, they definitely have. I mean, it's not a huge edge that they have in terms of depth. I think maybe I'd have to look at it. I forget. Their third line is higher TPE. Actually, I think all their lines are slightly higher TPE overall, but it's not like a giant advantage. It's a fairly slim advantage, if I remember correctly.
Well, and then especially if you think about the fact that as you go up, the TPE differential has to be greater to make a difference within the sim. Because with your key attributes, you start updating with smaller and smaller margins, and I feel like probably the gap between, like, let's say you've got an 82 scoring player and an 87 scoring player. That's a huge gap in terms of TPE. That's like half a season's worth of TPE. But that's not a huge gap. I don't think it's crazy material in terms of the way your overall players, like how your player will play on ice. So in that sense, I think that doing it by TPE only gets you so far, because if the gap is not really material on every line, then I think it doesn't matter to the outcome too much.
Right.
There's a little bit, obviously, but
I mean, you can use it to suggest, what the outcome might be, but I think it's about as much as you can do.
Yeah.
It would indicate that they might perform better than we would, but there's just too many other factors. But it's just a kind of a easy numerical thing you can go by.
Yep. And I think the other thing is, if you look at how the TPE is spread out, like the TPE differential and like between a veteran goaltender and a rookie goaltender is huge. And goalies, the TPE difference for goalies matters more because the attribute window is smaller. So, because goalies run on the different update scale, they run on the older one.
No.
So in that sense, what I think would be really interesting is take a look at how your overall team TPE correlates without goalies. Use goalies as an outlier. And then say, okay, what's the gap between just goalies and where's the strength coming from? Because I think if you look at it that way, I think if you take out Tanner and like MLF, I think if you take them out and you say, okay, and your backups too, obviously, if you take all of them away and then you say, okay, where are the players who are playing mixed ice time and who are on different lines, like where's their TPE differential? That's when I think you have a more compelling argument, because you've taken out some of the data that doesn't really fit.
Yeah, there's too much. I think it's an oversimplification, really.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, it's a good way of kind of comparing teams side by side without getting too in depth. And it's a championship week thing. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not
word
article or something.
$8 million article, right?
Yeah. So I guess let's look at that series really quick. We kind of already said the outcome. However, they did win the first game 5-3, which I remember thinking, oh crap, maybe we sweeping Minnesota was great and everything, but like
now we're in the big leagues,
really good
right?
team, yeah. And so and I knew they were deep. I didn't realize, I guess, they were deeper than us, and so that definitely made me nervous. But then we won game 2.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think in my prediction, actually, I think in my initial prediction, I had slated us to win and upset Minnesota, and then to go out against West Kendall.
Huh.
So that was my pessimistic head choice.
Well, in my bracket, I had us losing in the first round to Minnesota. So, first round, our first game lost, second game won in overtime, 3-2, which I like that. That makes me feel better winning in overtime. If I want to take a look at the shots, because I want to. Now they actually outshot us, but it evened out in overtime a bit more. They actually outshot us pretty substantially in that game. I guess maybe I remembered it being the opposite and that making me feel good, but apparently that's not the case. So I must have misremembered that. Maybe it was a Minnesota game. Anyway, doesn't matter. So third game, we won 6-4. I don't remember thinking anything about that game other than, okay, we won.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I was, I went back to work between Minnesota and West Kendall. So I started, instead of having 2 nights a week where I was coaching, I went to having 4 and then Saturdays. So I missed most of the latter half of the playoffs with my work schedule. Missed the PvPs and stuff. So I got the updates late, so I didn't really have like an emotional reaction to the following games. The one thing I do remember is a bunch of us were on the Wolfpack chat and on Discord, and somebody was complaining about our games going into OT, and we all jumped on them. We were like, no, we've won our games in OT. Like, stop, more OT is great. And then we ended up, that was actually the first. I think that was after game 2, where it was like, don't go into OT anymore. They were like, no, we're winning in OT, stop. And then I think it was a couple games later, we won in like the last 7 seconds of the game. So we were like, okay, remember when we said don't go into OT? Okay, longer games have been better for us. This is fine. Play all night. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that I like concretely remember about the West Kendall series was please go into OT.
Let's see. So then that takes us to we lost game 4, 4-2, and then of course 5 and 6 were us 4-3, and then 6-1 in the final game. But I think in the final game, did they put Schmidt in? Was that right? Or am I thinking of the Edmonton series where they put Ito in for the last game?
You're thinking of Edmonton. Edmonton put Ito in for the last one.
Okay. My index is breaking again. What is going on? That's fine. Whatever. It's probably because it's a play-by-play game. So yeah, 6-1 in the last game against West Kendall. So yeah, I would say overall, I mean, they were definitely a tough series, but I think given the last, the fact that we won in 6 and the last game winning 6-1, it's a fairly decisive win. They're definitely a good team. So I don't want to take anything away from
on the one
them.
hand, nothing is as decisive as a sweep, but it wasn't. I don't think it was a controversial win. I don't think it was one where it was like, oh, they should they only squeaked into Game 7 and then sweeping Edmonton simmer rig whatever.
Yeah.
Which would be dumb anyway because it's JY and JY is better than that. But
let's see. Okay, so that takes us to the finals, where on the other side we had Edmonton, who like I said earlier, I would put them as the second best team in the league, just barely behind Calgary. So again, I picked them to win.
Yeah, I actually think Raven. This is skipping ahead, but Raven asked later in his questions if there were any upsets this tournament. I actually think that the upset was Edmonton getting past, because it wasn't a big upset, but I think it, I don't know if our performance would have been different against Calgary, but I think it might have been, especially with Wong in goal. Whereas Edmonton chose to play Broadway all until the very last game. So I think I think that might have made a difference to the outcome. So I don't think there was an. I mean, if you look at it that way, we're the upset because we just squeaked in and then blitzed our way to the finals and then the cup. But I think that was. I think Edmonton's getting past Calgary surprised some people.
Yeah, I don't have I guess I didn't pay attention to the West very closely. But I mean, technically, all of our wins were upsets.
Right.
And I would say the biggest technically would be us over Minnesota.
Yep.
But at the same time, when I look at that matchup, I don't think it's as big of an upset as people think.
No.
Because I think we were a better team than our record was by a pretty significant margin, and we came into the playoffs looking really hot. So.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I mean, it's a big upset technically, but I think in reality, it's not as big of an upset. As it would appear to be. So I don't know. I guess I would probably say that's the biggest upset. Then that's having no knowledge of the West because I didn't pay attention to their side at all.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk. I guess a little more about the actual Edmonton series. I didn't really pay that close attention to the early games. I don't really remember them that well. I remember being very surprised that we beat them the first game, being like, oh, all right, because Edmonton's super good. They're a really good team. And I like a lot of their players a lot too. Scholes and Koroviev are two of my old Kelowna teammates. GRT Jedi was my GM and one of the people that I've talked to a fair amount on the site. So, I got a lot of respect for him and I really like him. So, and they have a really good team. So I expected them to beat us.
I expected, I don't know why, but after we got past West Kendall, I kind of went the other way. I felt like, okay, if we can get past West Kendall, we can get past Edmonton. Because my thought with Edmonton was it was going to be very similar to Minnesota, where they have a lot of, front, but not a lot of rookies at the back. So I thought that our depth and our overall endurance might be a little better. So I actually, once we got past West Kendall for me was the sticking point because that was the one where I really wasn't sure how things were going to go. And I think, in fact, I may even have predicted West Kendall to take the cup. But in any case, I think just in terms of overall team matchups, I too, because I have the Kelowna connections, I've spoken at least briefly to a lot of the people on Edmonton, and I feel the same way. I feel like they're a solid team with a good history. I mean, if they had beaten us and won the cup, it would have been their third cup in 6 seasons. Is that right?
Mm, something like
But
not.
they in Calgary traded off at least once because
I forget.
I think it went Calgary, Edmonton, Calgary.
I'd have to go back and look. Challenge Cup. Let's see. No, it went Hamilton, and so actually Edmonton last they won it in 28, and then the one before that was season 16. It was
Okay.
Calgary that won too. Calgary won 27 and 29.
Okay, so I was actually probably thinking of Calgary, but in any case,
But I mean, Edmonton's been in contention kind of throughout the last few seasons.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
saying.
they've been in a position to move on in the playoffs for multiple seasons.
Yeah, yeah, they're a good team.
Um,
So
so yeah, so they're a good team, but I think just in terms of like my expectation coming into the series, after we got past West Kendall, I was kind of like, okay, we can do anything. That's it. Uh, so I think that was the overall vibe of the series for me, and I wasn't very active during the series itself either because I went back to coaching at night. So I
okay.
missed because all of the final games are PvP'd. I missed all of them because when people get home from work is when I'm just about gearing up to leave and go coach their kids. so
Yeah,
uh,
I
so
was.
yeah, so
I'm pretty sure I watched the first 3 live, but I just don't remember them well, or nothing stood out. I guess the fourth game is the one that stood out, um, partly because obviously it's the one
because
where
it's an
we're running
elimination
up,
game, right?
and yeah, and then the 5-0 like that's. I mean, I have a hard time feeling like super great about it because like I feel bad for Edmonton losing that way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay. So yeah, I mean, so I guess that kind of sums up
The
the
other thing
final
was
segment.
they were so gracious,
Yeah, I mean
and
they're a good group of
really
people. So.
many of their guys were so gracious. It was actually some people from other teams who were like, New England sucks, they shouldn't have won, whatever. But they were so gracious, even after losing so hard, relatively. And I was really personally impressed by that. I was glad that we had them to be our final opponent. Um, I was really glad that it felt friendly the whole way through. Um, and to me that's important in like maintaining my interest in the league because I feel like if it's touchy all the time then it's not really fun. um, but I think for me the Edmonton series was kind of a treat because it's coming in with people you know, like, and respect. So if the outcome is not sort of what you hoped for, um, you can still be proud of how far you went. And I think that the Edmonton guys chose to look at it that way too. They got past Calgary, and I think Texas was their other person. So they got past 2 tricky teams who've given them some runs for their money in the past.
Yeah, and
Um,
like in terms of roster and like the level the team's at, I feel like Edmonton and Calgary are very similar, having really strong rosters and just being really good teams recently.
yeah, yep. So so yeah, I was impressed with the series, both from a standpoint of obviously I was so glad that we came away with such a decisive win, but I was also impressed with the series in terms of I was glad that it ran as smoothly and as less contentiously. I was really happy with the way it played out. So thank you to all the Edmonton people who made it a nice win, who really didn't make us leave with sort of a sour taste on it. So it definitely, to me, it was, I think it actually made it more likely that, you know, if I recreate or if I have to go like leave New England for whatever reason, which I never see happening, but for whatever reason, if I end up circumstantially somewhere else, I think Edmonton would be a nice landing spot.
Yeah,
So I think I'd already had a pretty good opinion of them, but then I think the final series really was the thing for me that cemented, okay, these guys are nice guys. This would be a good team to go and play for.
yeah, yeah. They're one of my top 3 between New England, West Kendall, and Edmonton. Those are the 3 favorite teams, and probably the teams that I have the most people that I know and like on them. So yeah, they're good people. I would definitely play for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's your relatively quick, not that quick. Final playoff recap. Where are we at here? That was Raven.
Yep.
So I guess we covered, I guess we didn't cover playoff MVP. We can do that. That was his second question.
Yep.
Now, so what I said in championship week is not what I think how it will play out, because I picked Raven because I know that it'll probably be either, my feeling is it'll probably be either Tanner, Nathan Russell, or Jasper Clayton. I think those are probably the three favorites. I chose Raven because of the 5-game winning goals, and also because I think since those are the three favorites, Raven probably wouldn't get as much attention as he maybe should for those 5-game winning goals. But I think realistically, I would probably pick. I don't know. For me, it'd probably be a toss-up between Tanner and Russell. I think those are probably my two favorites. I don't know. How do you feel?
I feel similarly. I think a good case could be made for Raven with so many game-winning goals. But I think ultimately for me, I would look back at the sort of who were the assists, and I have not actually taken a peek at it yet, partially because I'm actually on the awards committee, and will have to do that eventually when I'm putting my list together for nominations. But I think my guess is if you go back and look at who was the assister on those goals, I think most of them will be, especially for some of the earlier games, will be Russell or Clayton. So I think it would have been really cool to have such a young player be in consideration. But I think ultimately, because it's a 3-person ballot, I think ultimately the ballot will be Clayton, Russell, and Tanner. I think Russell's the easy choice. I think Tanner's the interesting choice, and I think Clayton is probably going to end up just on the outside, just because it's so rare that defensemen really get nominated and then go on to win over more sort of in the spotlight positions. Which I think actually, if you go back and look at it, New England's defense is not as strong as our offense. So yeah, I think I'd probably go with either Russell or Tanner, and I actually don't have a strong opinion either way. I think if they end up giving Tanner the McBride, I think they'll probably go Russell for the playoff MVP. So I guess if I had to pick just one, I'd probably go with Russell.
Yeah, I think I'm not like, this isn't any like sort of, I don't have any expertise in this. I don't really know hockey that well, so maybe people with better knowledge or of the league or of the game would be better qualified to make that kind of call. But I think I would probably favor Tanner or Russell, and I don't know. Maybe there's a better choice out there, but I don't know it. Let's go. I guess we're pretty good on time. We can answer Raven's last question and then save Trevor Wilson. Well, we won't be able to save Trevor Wilson's for next week because one of them is about the draft, and we could change it because he's asking, how do you think New England will do in the upcoming draft? And by this time next week, the draft will be over.
Yeah, we can do a recap next week.
We just do a recap of it. Okay, so let's do Raven's last question just to knock it out. It's not league related, so we can just kind of. So his last question is, what are your favorite games? Anything you've been playing a lot recently? Anyway, I think we both have the same answer for this, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit ashamed to say it because I'd been out of it for so long, and I was like, I've broken the grasp. I don't, and it's not like a. But anyway, it's World of Warcraft with the new expansion out, which is I think really good actually.
Yeah, who got suckered into that? It was somebody else in the locker room. It might have been Peeves.
Yeah, I think it was
Habspan
and PB and somebody else. Maybe somebody else was talking about it.
No, because Hippo joined later.
I thought I don't remember. There's some talk of like, if there's enough people, and that was kind of my thing. It's like,
it was if there was enough people for a little bit. It was you, me, and Peeves who all started with a new person, and then a couple other people had started with a new person, and then didn't for whatever reason keep going with it.
Jetbox was going to start as well.
Uh-huh.
And I think he never got it downloaded because I think his internet's pretty not great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't regret it. I'm actually really impressed with Legion. I think it's really good. I've been out, but I don't know if it's actually good or if I've just been out of the game so long that everything is so new again. So my opinion could be bad. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
So Town of Salem, we play that as a group in New England and sometimes in Kelowna. So that's sort of my outside. I actually I had like a 6-day jag of the new Ace Attorney game for the DS came out, and that's like my favorite game series, and apparently it had been out earlier than I'd thought, but for whatever reason, I think maybe it was just on the, like, it came out late on the online release where you could download it without having to leave the house, which is my preferred method of downloading things. So anyway, Lil and I went on a Ace Attorney bender, and I think I yelled at her about it, and then she got it, and I continued to yell at her because she said she didn't mind spoilers, and I was having feelings. So yeah, so that's my other one. But I dabble in about everything. I actually was bad. I made Jetbox get into Skyrim with me because Skyrim is fantastic, and I was in awe that he had not played it yet.
Yes, I love Skyrim because it's a problem. I have played so much.
It's so good. It's so good.
I'm actually waiting for the new version, the remastered.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's good and it's the same
game. I shouldn't get it, but I'm probably going to.
I've got a new PC now, so I'm definitely getting it. I mean, I
never got it for the PC. That's part of why I want to get the.
Oh yeah. It's PC's the way to go for it because there's so many mods and so many good mods, and
that's what I've heard. Yeah,
it's it's almost like a different game once you start getting. I mean, the modding will break the game eventually because
yeah,
ridiculous list of mods, and it's not the amount of stuff you can put into it with the mods and make it playable is a lot more than it can really handle. So it'll just like it'll be playable, but it'll just kind of crash randomly and you'll lose save information. It's just like it's a hassle, but. Man, it's so good. There's so much cool stuff, like fully voice acted quests and characters, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the mod side of it. I got it for PS3 just because I had already had one. But anyway, so that's my. So I play a lot of stuff though. The only thing I really don't do would be the popular choice for the league, I'm guessing, is I don't do any NHL stuff because I don't have an Xbox. But I play computer games, I play console games. So, anyway.
Yeah, I don't have as much time as I used to, but I'll probably get NHL again, even though every year I'm like, no, it's basically the same, but a few things changed, so I'm not buying it this season. But all my friends play it, and I end up playing online.
It's very social.
Yeah, and so I'll probably end up getting it. I am actually I want to get No Man's Sky, but I'm not willing to pay $60 for it. But I do want to play it.
I've also heard it wasn't that good.
It's the biggest problem people have with it is I feel like people were disappointed. They expected more from it.
From the price tag.
Yeah, and so I don't think it's a $60 game. I would probably I'm willing to pay $40 for it, but I don't think I'd want to. I'm certainly not paying $60. And even $40.
It should come down in price eventually.
It will sooner or later. It looks fun, but yeah, I don't think it's $60 fun. So I'm waiting for that someday.
Yep, feel it.
Anything else? Anything? I don't know. I don't. I used to play a ton of games and have a lot longer list of things.
No, yeah, I have. I kind of do like most of the big names, especially Nintendo side. I do. My cousins and I do Brawl. One of my cousins does it like professional is the wrong word, but he like goes to tournaments and like plays against like there's like some sort of ranked system. I actually know. I don't know how good it is. I don't know how good he is, but he's good enough that he feels like one of his hobbies is going around and like going to like Smash travel tournaments.
Yeah. I know there's the community for that is a fairly good size. I don't
Yeah.
follow it or anything, but I've got some familiarity with it.
Yeah, so I suck less because sometimes I have to play against him. But I'm not good. I will play the hell out of some Mario Kart. Yeah, I have a lot of Nintendo side games because that was my first console as a kid. So I've sort of kept up with it. I have most of the Zelda. So I think I might, except for like the really super old ones. I think everything GameCube later I have. Which is really the only important Zelda games anyway. And then what else do I do? I think I have a couple of the like the Mario, like the RPG styles, but I have a couple Final Fantasy games. So I got started in the RPG side and sort of stick to that. I don't really do any like first-person shooter or any of that, which I've been told a million times that I should, but it's just me in my house and I'm the only girl and I don't really like have any guy friends who are that close to me who do the first person shooter stuff and would like walk me through it.
Have you played Mass Effect? Because I mean,
No.
the first person shooter element isn't like great, but
no, and I've heard a billion times that I need to. That's one of the things that I have a couple like girlfriends who play Mass Effect are like, okay, no, you don't understand. You need to get this.
It's really good. If you
yeah.
a lot of people were kind of upset about the ending in the third one, but I don't have a problem with it. And the series as a whole is so good. Like I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Also, Fallout, which is like Skyrim-ish. I would recommend I think the first-person shooter elements of that are a little stronger than they are in Mass Effect. But you've got the like the VATS where you can stop time and kind of automate your shots. So it's not, you don't have to necessarily be a great first-person shooter player. And there's a lot of like that Skyrim kind of style of role-playing, dialogue, questing kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll play pretty much anything as long as it's got a good storyline. My only caveat is I really suck. I don't like to suck. So I'm really terrible at most games. Like my average player level is like extremely casual. And it's the kind of thing where it's my hobby. It's not my it's not even my main hobby. It's not like something I do reliably. So I'm not very good. So as long as the game has a good storyline and it'll scale, I'm fine. But as soon as a game is like too hard or there's bits of the interface I don't like in a way that is not particularly flexible or changeable, then I lose interest. Which I know is kind of funny to say that with playing Final Fantasy, but because the interface there's nothing worse.
Which one?
One
of the newer ones? Because I actually honestly I haven't played one since 10, so I guess it would be, if it's after 10, I'm completely unfamiliar. So
no, I think it was I think it was like 10-2 or whatever it was. That was awful.
Okay.
And I play some of the Kingdom Hearts games too, and those are really tough. Not because they're difficult, but because especially the first one, they're not. It's one of my favorite series storyline wise, but the gameplay is so much harder than it needs to be, and it's for stupid reasons. It's not like they made it difficult on purpose. It's like nobody thought this thing through. So the later games have gotten a lot better with it, but it's not. I don't know. It's a favorite series of mine, but for the story, not for the gameplay, which makes it tough because then I'm not very good. So I'm like slogging through some of the boss battles, going, Jesus, let this end, and dying 1,000,000,006 times. But I don't really like time pressure. Is part of it for me. Like I'm fine if you can take your time and like really think about each move you make, if there's like a movement element to it, like if you really get the time to like rest on a platform before you jump to the next one. My in-game coordination is almost as bad as my out-of-game coordination, which is saying something because it's awful. As long as there's I don't know, as long as it scales to be something where I can handle it and it's not too difficult, then it's fine. And I'll try anything once. I don't care. I'm flexible. So if it's something my friends are playing and they're like, "Wow, you gotta try this," then sure. But as for favorites, Pokemon, I have every Pokemon game except I'm missing. I got Platinum and I didn't go back and get Diamond and Pearl. I probably will eventually. But basically, since Pokemon Red and Blue, I have everything else all the way up. So that's, if I had to pick like one franchise, that's like my Desert Island franchise. Yeah.
All right. You want to leave it at that then? We're on time, and we've still got all of, what was it?
Way too long. Definitely didn't listen.
I mean, it's actually not that bad this time, so I think we're
okay. Good.
It's not our shortest one yet, I don't think, but certainly not our longest. So.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, let's call it there, and we can get to Wilson's questions next week. I think we got all of Raven and all of Clardy for the most part. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
And thank you guys for the quick questions, and please send in more so we have more stuff to talk about next week. Thankfully, we're coming into a short off season, so we should still have plenty to chat about. So
I think next week we can do draft aftermath and whatever else comes up during the week, and hopefully fill with some questions. So I think we should be good.
Yep.
All right. So then, thanks for listening, and until next week, goodbye.
Bye, guys.